Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. Normally, I play the entire video without any interruptions, and then I go back and talk about stuff. However, this one is closer to the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to do this one a little bit different. I will pause the video intermittently and then talk about things that are going on and better explain what's going on, and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. So without further ado, here we go.
Hello, I'm Officer Washington with the St. Louis County Police Department's Public Information Office. This critical incident briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred on December 12, 2021 in the 2000 block of Coleridge Drive in the city of Jennings. As part of our commitment to transparency, we're about to show you relevant video footage, evidence, and our response related to this incident. Our goal is to provide you a better understanding of what occurred based on what we know at this point in the investigation. The St. Louis County Police Department conducts thorough use of force investigations, which typically require detectives to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. This portrayal is not intended to draw any conclusions about whether the officers involved acted consistent with our policies and the law until all the facts are known and the investigation is complete. A word of caution: the images you're about to see may be disturbing, and you may hear strong or coarse language. When a police officer uses force to arrest a suspect or to defend against an attack, it can be graphic and difficult to watch. Viewer discretion is strongly advised.
So when I talk about, or when I've talked about before in the past about selecting a good public information officer or a good spokesperson, that's what I'm talking about. This guy speaks pretty well. He has a pretty good narrator kind of voice. Like I could definitely see watching something on Discovery Channel and hearing this guy's voice in the background. I don't always think that having the chief of police or someone of higher rank always being that person to be in the videos is always the greatest thing, because they just don't always end up being a good spokesperson. And when you're having people who are addressing the community, you need someone who is presentable, someone who could possibly double as even a news anchor or something like that.
Hello, I am Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Sack, Commander of the Division of Criminal Investigation. This is a brief overview of an incident that occurred on Sunday, December 12th, 2021. The incident began around 8:20 a.m. and concluded at approximately 11:40 a.m. The St. Louis County Police Department received a call for service to check the welfare of Mr. George Hollins of the 2000 block of Coleridge Drive in the city of Jennings. An associate of Mr. Hollins called 911, stating that Mr. Hollins had made concerning statements, prompting the welfare check. When the associate asked Mr. Hollins if someone was hurt, Mr. Hollins responded, "Yes." The associate noted Mr. Hollins sounded upset and angry. When responding officers arrived, they made contact with an adult male at the residence through a window. He was later identified as Mr. George Hollins, age 26. Officers made numerous attempts to speak with Mr. Hollins and made entry into the home. Officers found no signs of injured persons or criminal activity, and they observed Mr. Hollins sitting in a bathroom in possession of a shotgun. Mr. Hollins told the officers to leave the residence. The officers exited his home, but remained outside and attempted to assure Mr. Hollins they wanted to get him any help he needed. Here is body-worn camera video of the officers' initial encounter with Mr. Hollins.
Body-worn cameras used by the St. Louis County Police Department are a smart device that fits securely into an officer's uniform. The cameras have a 30-second buffer of video without audio. Upon activation, the camera goes back 30 seconds and begins recording. This feature is designed to capture incidents that occur suddenly where an officer does not immediately activate the camera. The cameras are worn at chest level by most officers assigned to the Division of Patrol, and they capture a general perspective from that angle. Body-worn cameras do not capture everything the officer sees. Available lighting, movement, distance, and other factors can affect clarity and picture quality.
So he said it could be one or two. So it could be this one or 2031 or 2032. So that one, yeah.
691.
Hey! Not a place! What's going on, man? What are you doing? What's wrong? Okay. We'll be right in. Is your door open? Are you hurt?
Do you?
What? Let me see your hands. Put your hands up by the window. Put your other hand by the window.
What's he?
Keep an eye on him.
So he apparently breaks out his own window, and they're talking to him, and he says he needs help, and they talk about coming in. It's not a black or white, they've been given permission to come in kind of thing. It's kind of a gray area. I'll back it up so we can hear it again.
What's going on, man? What are you doing? What's wrong? Okay.
Now what he says,
What's wrong? Okay.
I can't understand what he says, and they don't offer any information about what he says.
What's wrong? Okay. We'll be right in. Is your door open? Are you hurt?
Do you?
What? Let me see your hands.
So he asks if his door's open, where he says, we're coming in, and he says, is your door open? And he says, yeah. To me, that is him giving permission for them to come inside. Keep that in mind, and I'll get to it as we get there.
Put your hands up by the window. Put your other hand by the window.
What's he?
Keep an eye on him.
What's his name, George?
Do you need an ambulance?
You need an ambulance?
What's your name? Hey man, what's your name?
I think you said George. Are you George? Somebody called. They're worried about you. That's why we're here, to help you. Are you George? Are you George?
Are you able to get to the front door?
Hey George, can you unlock the door and let us in?
What's wrong? You need help?
What's in his hand?
That's great.
Need help?
What's in his hand?
So I don't know anything about this area, but while they're out on this call, they can hear gunfire coming from within the area. So that kind of makes me think this is kind of a crappy part of town.
That's great. George, what do you got in your hand, man? Your phone? Okay.
Hey, somebody called and they're worried about you. Can you let us in so we can just check and make sure you're okay? Can you do that for us, George? Can you go to the front door and let us in?
You stay talking to him.
Okay. He's got a black cell phone in his left hand.
George, can you help me with the front door?
Hey, George, let me see both your hands. Are you all right? What's wrong? Okay, let me see both your hands. George, I'm just gonna help you. I know, I understand. I'll take care of you. Back up. He's got a shotgun. I don't know if I look at it, but I think he's got a shotgun.
Get some cover. It wasn't his phone, was it?
No, he showed me a phone in the window. I know he has a phone for sure.
All right. So what I talked about earlier, when that interaction, it was kind of a gray area about whether or not he was giving them permission to come into the house. The police, of course, have to have a legal reason to come into your home. Generally, for them to come into your home, either A, you have to invite them in, and this is where it's kind of the gray area. B, in order to come into your house when you don't want them to, they have to have a warrant, or they can enter under exigent circumstances or under hot pursuit. And then under those circumstances, they can enter for exigent, if it's exigent circumstances, like someone screaming or something like that. They can go in, deal with that situation at hand, but it doesn't then allow them to go start searching other parts of the house. They would have to go get warrants for that. Same with like hot pursuit kind of stuff. Generally, it's done through search warrants. They send an affidavit to the judge. Judge reviews it. Says, yeah, okay, here's your search warrant. You can go into this person's house against their wishes. This is kind of a gray area, sticky area. They sort of have his permission, but they sort of don't. It wasn't very clear. To me, it sounded like the guy was okay with them coming in there. He didn't say no. The only time he said no about anything was, don't come in here, the bathroom. I didn't explicitly hear him say, get out of my house or anything like that, but he did say, don't come in here. The officer observed a shotgun. Anything wrong with that? No. Second Amendment. We have the right to bear arms. However, the problem is Mr. Hollins is a convicted felon. He's not supposed to be in possession of any firearms. Well, now this gray area comes into play. Can they do anything about this? Sure. They could. They could have, arrested him and everything. He probably could have fought it and said, the fruits of the poisonous tree, they didn't have permission to come in here. Anything they found is inadmissible. Probably would have worked in his favor on that one. Them going in there and it likely turning into a gunfight. Whew, that could have sucked. That could have gotten real shitty, and would have been a long, drawn out legal ordeal. But we're still having to deal with the fact that Mr. Hollins is a convicted felon. How do I know this? The internet and news media. So, going back to an article from myleaderpaper.com by Tony Krotz, March 30th, 2019. George E. Collins Jr., 23, of St. Louis, has been charged with 4 felonies for allegedly holding a 21-year-old Arnold woman against her will and raping her, according to court records. At about 8:30 p.m. March 4th, the Arnold woman, who has a child with Hollins, traveled to St. Louis to pick Hollins up. The woman had the couple's child with her when she went to St. Louis to get Hollins and take him to his sister's home, the probable cause statement said. After the Arnold woman picked up Hollins, he allegedly started to punch her and told her to drive to her home in Arnold. The woman, Hollins, and their child arrived at the home at about 10 p.m., and Hollins told the woman to stay in the car because he wanted to talk, the report said. After about 20 minutes, the woman said she needed to put their child to bed. They went into the home, and Hollins allegedly forced the woman to have sex with him, according to the report. Later, when the woman went to get a drink of water, he went with her and allegedly picked up a kitchen knife and threatened her with it, telling her she would not get away from him. The two returned to the bedroom, and whenever the woman moved toward the door, Hollins allegedly picked up the knife, the report said. On March 5th, the woman said she had to take their child to daycare. Hollins went with her, and the two returned to the Arnold home. Then, Hollins told the woman they were going to go to the casino after the child was picked up from daycare, adding that he wanted the woman's mother to watch the child. However, the woman's mother couldn't watch the child, according to the report. So, when they picked up the child from the daycare, Hollins wanted his sister in St. Louis to watch the child. Even though the Arnold woman didn't want Hollins' sister to watch the child, she drove to St. Louis, the report said. After getting to the sister's St. Louis home, the woman was unable to get away from Hollins and ran to a nearby Emo's Pizza. The woman allegedly created a disturbance in the restaurant, and St. Louis police were called, according to the report. After talking with officers, the woman was taken to Mercy Hospital South in South St. Louis County to be examined. Hollins was arrested at 12:18 p.m. March 10. He allegedly denied raping the woman, telling officers he had consensual sex with her. On March 11, the Jefferson County Prosecuting Attorney's Office charged Hollins with first-degree rape or attempted rape, an unclassified felony that carries a penalty of 5 years to life in prison. First-degree kidnapping, a Class A felony, punishable by 10 to 30 years or life in prison. Second-degree domestic assault, a Class D felony, punishable by no more than 7 years in prison. And armed criminal action, an unclassified felony, punishable by a minimum of 3 years in prison. As of today, March 30, Hollins was being held in the Jefferson County Jail on a $75,000 cash-only bond. Hollins previously was convicted of 1 count of felony first-degree burglary and 2 counts of felony second-degree burglary. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison for each charge, with the sentences to be served concurrently, or at the same time. However, Hollins was released early and was on probation, court records indicate. Go figure, right? That's the story of this country. Letting violent offenders out early and put them on probation. Give them a little slap on their wrist. It happens from coast to coast, and it is sickening. I am so freaking tired of hearing about these violent offenders getting little slaps on the wrist and being released back into the community. It is turning America into an unsafe place. You go into larger cities, violent crime is out there. Louisville, Kentucky, holy shit. Chicago, you name them. Big cities, big crime. And there's a lot of violent offenders who are doing all this. A lot of violent offenders who are being released early and then committing murders. When the police are out dealing with people and they come into contact with these violent offenders who've been released early and they get into gunfights with the police, that should not be happening. These violent offenders should not be getting released early and the police having to be put in a position to deal with them and then have to get into gunfights with them. That should not be happening. Their asses should be locked up somewhere. This guy should have been locked up. He should not have been let out early. He had previous felony convictions and now raping a woman. That woman should have never been raped. She never should have been kidnapped and put through that entire ordeal. The system failed her. The courts failed her. The courts are responsible for her being raped. The courts are responsible for this incident occurring. And you haven't watched the rest of the video yet, but spoiler alert, he starts shooting the shotgun and one of his neighbors gets shot. That should have never happened. This guy should have been sitting in a prison cell somewhere. But no, we got a bunch of hug-a-thug people in the criminal justice system who want to give these violent offenders multiple chances. They want to give them little slaps on the wrist. And why? What good is it doing? What's the excuse? Oh, they're victims? Bullshit. There are some people who are very clear and present dangers to society, and they don't need to be walking amongst us. They need to be in a cage. At bare minimum, they just need to be in a cage. So when he could have been in prison for, the rape incident occurred in 2019. Now, when they said previously, I don't know how far back that burglary and everything had occurred, but it's conceivable that it wasn't that far back, and that if he had served 6 years, then it could have covered up until December of 2021. And if he had been in prison, the woman never would have been raped, and this scenario here never would have happened. So the police make entry into the house in a kind of a grayish, questionable circumstance. And excuse me. I felt a sneeze coming on. So they'd enter the house under questionable kind of circumstances, a little grayish, and they observed the shotgun. They come out. Could they have pressed the issue on the shotgun? Well, they might not have fully known exactly who he is. All they know is George right now, and they weren't even sure about what the name was. But before they left this scene, they had to have known who he was. And it should have clicked that, hey, this guy has a shotgun, and he's not supposed to have it. But let's go forward.
At one point, Mr. Hollins came out onto the front porch, flourishing a shotgun, but soon went back into his residence.
So if they had talked among themselves, which I have no idea if they had talked amongst themselves, but if they did talk amongst themselves about, hey, we observed him with a shotgun, he's not supposed to have it, and they said, well, we shouldn't have really came into the house, we didn't have, a justified reason for doing so. And then, they could have debated that. Him coming out in the open, though, changes that completely. He has now left the confines of his dwelling and has come onto the curtilage of the house, the property there in plain view of the street. That then changes it. Now the officers have the full legal weight behind them in being able to go in there and get this guy. They have the legal right now to do something by observing him with that shotgun.
Thank you. This is for information. We have a canine en route to the intersection of St. Joe and Saltwood. This is Joe.
The Crisis Intervention Unit was notified and provided guidance to the on-scene officers. Since no crime against a citizen had been committed, and Mr. Hollins demanded the officers to leave, they left the residence in an attempt to de-escalate the situation. The officers departed at approximately 10:35 a.m.
Okay. Crisis intervention consulted with the officers, and then the officers decided that because no crime had been committed against anyone, that they were going to de-escalate the situation and leave. So basically the police observed a crime being committed, observed a felon in possession of a shotgun, and they left. I don't know about you, but that's wrong to me. It's bad enough that the courts screw stuff up and let these people out early, give them sweet plea deals, give them reduced sentences, probation and parole when they should not be getting it, etc. But it's a whole nother thing when the police willfully neglect to be the police. They shouldn't have left without doing something about the fact that a felon was in possession of a shotgun. Should not have left at all.
At approximately 10:52 a.m., several 911 calls were received reporting Mr. Hollins had fired multiple gunshots from a shotgun. Ultimately, 3 homes were reported to have been struck by gunfire, and Mr. Hollins had also fired at an unidentified car driving down the street. Police officers and supervisors again responded.
He ends up shooting some more, and one of his neighbors gets shot. One of his neighbors ends up getting a bunch of shotgun pellets in his body. He lives. I think that an article said that the neighbor that got shot had been released either that same day or the day after. So luckily he lived. But that never should have happened. Now it's 2 reasons why it should have never happened. 1, the courts should have never allowed this guy to be out early and get probation when he should have been in prison. And secondly, more importantly, the police shouldn't have left. They should not have disregarded the fact there was a felon in possession of a firearm. They should have called in more resources, get a team out there, cordon the area off, tell him to come out, and he refused to come out. Try to make him come out, and he still refused to come out. Go in there and get him. If it ended up in a gunfight, ends up in a gunfight. That's what the police are supposed to do. You're supposed to go and stop the criminals. You're supposed to go take guns away from convicted felons, violent felons at that. All right. There's a difference between a Martha Stewart felon and a burglarizing, kidnapping, raping kind of felon. They should have went in there. If he completely refused to come out, completely refused to obey, and was able to withstand tear gas being fired in through the window and other stuff, and refused and just would not come out, they should have went in there to make an attempt to snatch his ass up. And if it ended in a gunfight, then it ends in a gunfight. But instead, the guy gets a pass. And then someone almost dies. The guy that got shot, I really truly hope he sues the shit out of them and wins. Now, you watch this channel long enough, you know I'm pro-police. When everyone else bitches about excessive force and, oh, they shouldn't have done that, I'm the one who says, well, they fucked around and found out they shouldn't have pulled a gun on the police. It's their fault. Hell, there's times where when people bitch about the police shooting someone, there's times I'll say they didn't shoot enough. They should have fired some more rounds. So don't get it twisted. This ain't me cop bashing. Very, very, very pro-police. But I'm going to call it like I see it. This right here was a failure. They failed to serve and protect. And someone nearly lost their life because of it. Move it on.
In full uniform and marked police vehicles and set up containment positions. The Crisis Intervention Unit and Tactical Operations were requested and were responding. While on scene, officers awaited the arrival of these units. Mr. Hollins fired his shotgun twice at neighboring homes. Additionally, on multiple occasions over the next several minutes, he opened a side door of his home and threw incendiary devices, similar to a Molotov cocktail, at an adjacent home. These incendiary devices smoked for several minutes without causing major damage. However, during this period, an additional 911 call was received in which a neighbor reported that a shotgun blast from Mr. Hollins had entered their home and a resident was struck by numerous shotgun pellets. The gunshot wounds were superficial and not life-threatening. You are about to hear police radio traffic of the officer's response to the home of Mr. Hollins, as well as view body-worn camera footage up to this point in the incident.
Car 1804, 2801, and 1890, shots fired on Coleridge.
1804. Go ahead.
1804, 2801, 1890, all of Jennings units, be advised, shots fired, 2037 Coleridge Drive, 2037 Coleridge. Neighbor just shot at the reporting party's house. He said the male went back into his house, and that obviously the police were just out there for him, so now he's shooting at neighbors' houses. 129.6 is 1054.
Uniform clear.
Have those responding units take containment.
Car 1890, do you want to set up like we did last time? 1801.
2890, show me a route as well.
One. Where's the,
So let's back this up. Some supervisor says have those responding units take containment. So basically this guy's telling them that he doesn't want those officers to be doing anything. Why? This is an active shooter incident now. This containment shit, that shit ended back in the fucking 90s when Columbine happened. Columbine is the reason why containment and setting up a perimeter for active shooter is no longer a fucking thing, because it gets people killed. In Columbine, back then, the training was contain the scene, set up a perimeter, and wait for SWAT. And what happened? A bunch of kids died. A teacher bled to death in front of some kids. Some of the kids killed instantly, some of them bled to death. Could have been saved. It was hours before any police entered that school. Since then, there have been drastic changes in how responding to active shooter events happen. It is no longer set up containment and have a perimeter. It's go in and do work. You go in and stop the fucking threat. You don't sit around with your dick in your hand like that fucking deputy down there in Florida, that high school. I don't forgot the name of it. Little crazy looking little fucker with the AR that went into the school and was shooting everyone. You can see that deputy not doing a damn thing on camera, on the security camera for the school. You don't sit around and wait when there's an active shooter. You go in and you do work. You move in fast. And you stop the threat. Failure right here. That is not how you respond to an active shooter incident.
9 units take containment.
For 1890, do you want to set up like we did last time? 1801.
2890, show me a route as well. One, where's the suspect? Do we know?
He is back inside of his residence, but he went out and shot at another house.
Clear. I'm on scene.
That's clear on scene. Just let me know where you set up, containment.
1804, I'm on scene. I'm going to be near the bottom of the street, opposite of the Jang Station.
Clear near the bottom of the street, opposite Jennings Station.
1804, be advised, I just saw him on the side of the house.
So keep in mind, although when you hear this radio transmissions, the recording device is set up to when there's noise, it records. So there's probably several seconds in between some of these transmissions. I'm not going to say it's probably more than a minute on a call like this, but it's not back-to-back talking like this. Like, the shit don't happen that fast. But because the way the system's set up, it's the recordings, it starts picking up when there's voices, and when there's several seconds of silence, it just cuts that out, and then the next sound comes into play. So communications that would take from 1 minute to 30 minutes, conversations on a normal radio and stuff like that, you'd have several seconds in between transmissions, several minutes in between transmissions. The way the recording thing's set up, it could play a whole 30-minute segment within like 5 minutes. It'll just boop, 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 boop. So just keep that in mind when you're listening to this. It's not like it's happening this fast.
Side door holding a shotgun.
1804, advising he spotted the male on the side of the house holding a shotgun. 90, are you clear?
Clear and route.
1801, I'm at Coleridge and Jennings Station, unless otherwise told someplace else. That's clear, QS Station.
2003, I'm back in the rear of the house, holding containment.
Clear in the rear. 1205, I'm at Russell Coleridge. 1205, clear, thank you.
1890.
90, go ahead.
Have a tax supervisor give me a phone call.
Absolutely.
2803. I like the other units. The subject is standing on the side door of the house.
All cars be advised, subject is standing on side door of the house.
2803, he's showing the shotgun now.
I'm sorry, repeat.
The subject is standing out with shotgun on him.
Subject is standing on the side of the house near the door with the shotgun in hand. Repeat. Clear, thank you.
Circuit 2803, see what side of the house he's standing on.
2803, can you advise?
He's standing on the side next to the blue house.
Clear, he's next to the blue house.
2803, he's on the west side of the house. He's walking outside right now.
Clear on the west side of the house.
So I've noticed that they say clear a lot. that is in my area, like that kind of well, I don't want to say terminology. That way of talking on the radio isn't normal around here. So I would really like to know why they say that so much. The thing with radio communications, with emergency services, public safety, is it's different everywhere you go. So 10 codes, like 10-4, 10-5, 10-6, 10-7, 10-8, 10-9, 10-10, all the way to 10-100. And then signals, signal 1, signal 2, signal 3, signal 4, or codes, code 1, code 2, code 3, code 4. That stuff is like a freaking bird's nest, man. Like, it is all over the place, all across the nation. You go to the West Coast and their 10 codes for, 1045, 1046, 1047 are completely different than what someone on the East Coast is using. Even within a state, you go to one state and one area has this as their 10 code and their signals, and then not even that far away, they may have some similar 10 codes as the agency close to them, but they may have some additional ones, or they may have some that are a little bit different or not used at all. And then some of how they talk on the radio, or what they call the dispatcher, that's even different. Some places call it radio, like Unit 1 to radio. Here, it looks like they're calling them 1 or 1801. Some places you'll hear headquarters. Some places you'll hear them calling by dispatch. New York, they say central. Some counties, you'll hear them just say county. State police may call their dispatch by their post area. So like here in Kentucky, in our area, the KSP post is in Bowling Green. And so on the radio, you hear them call out to, 897 to Bowling Green. That's what they call their dispatch center. So what dispatch centers are called across the nation are all different on the radio as well. After 9/11 occurred, there was supposed to be, from presidential executive orders for NIMS, National Incident Management System, there's supposed to be work on having plain language, because one of the things that happened on 9/11 was all these different agencies came to assist in where the towers fell down, and there were agencies that just had a lot of different 10 codes, and they would be talking on the radio, and they're like, yeah, we need a 1015, and they're talking about they want a Halligan tool, but these other people, 1015 means an ambulance, or coffee break. There's actually some agencies that have a 10 code for coffee break, by the way. So they were all confusing each other because they're using these 10 codes, and they weren't thinking about it. So you're supposed to use plain language. That doesn't happen all the time. Some agencies have still retained the use of 10 codes and whatnot. Some of it makes sense to be able, especially from the police side, to be able to talk in code. That way the suspects aren't really figuring out what's being talked about. But for the ones who've been, around for a while and have been involved in the system, they know the 10 codes. They've been arrested and messed with by the police so often that they know what the code speak is. They know what 1015 means. They know all that stuff. So, but it's still nice to be able to use the code, just for the safety standpoint. And other than that, I really don't see the need for a lot of 10 codes. Why do I need to say I need a 1047? Why can't I just say I need an ambulance? anyway, that's kind of going off into a rant. But anyway, the way they're talking and using this word clear a lot, I just found that interesting. So if anybody knows this particular area and while they talk like this, I'd like to really hear some feedback on that.
I was walking outside.
1890, have an ambulance stage at Family Dollar. All through Jennings Station.
That's good.
1205 on scene, holding containment Coleridge and Jennings Station.
Clear, holding containment Coleridge, Jennings Station.
One, he's on the side of the house, blue jacket, red shirt, out shoulder length dreads, gun in his left hand.
That's gun in left hand on the side of the house.
1803, TC of 2803 has eyes on the subject.
2803, do you have eyes on the subject?
That is clear, just standing right outside the door.
Clear, subject is standing right outside the door on the left side of the house.
One,
Go ahead.
can you check with our caller and make sure nobody was hit?
That's there, Sam.
One, he just threw a bottle out the window, shotgun still in the right hand.
Shotgun's in right hand, threw a bottle out the window. Is he back inside?
And he was still standing on the porch of the side door.
That's clear, thank you. Standing on the porch of the side door. And be advised there was no answer on callback to reporting party of the shots fired. We will attempt again in a minute.
Clear, thank you. 2803, I like the other units, see what Bill's flourishing with these covering.
Clear, all cars, be advised. The male was just flourishing the shotgun.
One, he's back inside, door's halfway open.
The male is back inside the residence. The door is halfway open.
1890, which officer do we have on the back side of the residence, on the 3 side?
That should be 2804 and 3.
1804, it's myself in a river unit.
One, he's out the front door now.
Male is out the front door. 90, are you clear? All
But I've got eyes on him.
clear, eyes on.
1204, I'm on containment in the rear with 803.
Oh, for that's clear.
See that damn clear. Just as long as we have eyes on the back of the residence.
That's clear. We have 3 officers in the back now.
But he's standing at the front door, door open.
That's clear.
Back inside the residence.
Back inside. The station will be held without the marker for the Jennings units.
He's got the gun raised up.
Clear. Extension Jennings cars reference the caller of this one. Party states that there was a Ford Expedition that was possibly hit. They don't know where it drove off to. Also, the house of the reporting party was hit, but there's nobody injured that he's aware of. Car 6, David 11.
1804 is at the bathroom window.
1804 advising at the bathroom with David 11. Check your computer.
1890. Advise all units.
Sorry, 90, go ahead.
Advise all units to hold their containment and tactics and route.
All units hold containment, tactics, and route. Any cars on Coleridge? Do we have an update?
Back inside the house, no visual.
Clear, be advised. We've contacted 2 neighbors and advised them to stay low.
George, we just want to help you. Step out the front door, put the shotgun on the ground, and walk to the street with your arms up high. George, we're here to get you help.
Officers attempted to communicate with Mr. Hollins using a police vehicle public address system. They repeatedly encouraged him to put down his weapon and come out of the house.
George, we want to get you help. We need you to step outside, put the shotgun on the ground, walk to the street with your arms in the air. We're going to get you help.
Watch the crossfire over there. Yeah.
Male just fired off another round from inside the residence.
Hey, just be advised, I believe he shot at the house next door to him.
930 cleared.
One, advise people in that house to get low. He's shooting out the windows of the house next door to him.
Any car to advise them?
So at this point, they know that there's people still in that house, and he's telling the dispatcher to call them and say, hey, get low in your house, take cover. It's unclear for sure right now it's unclear right now if he for sure has a clear line of sight on him. if he did have a clear line of sight on him at this moment, he should have fucking shot him. This dude is shooting towards a house with people in it, and someone has already been shot. Like, what more justification do you need at this moment? It's already there. This guy is a clear and fucking present danger. He has shot someone, and he's continuing to shoot at people. But like I said, I don't know if in this instant right now, this officer has a clear visual on the guy and has a clear line of fire. If he did in this moment, then he's fucking wrong for not shooting right now.
One, he's lit a fire in the side door. He's inside, but I see flames.
Clear, there's a fire lit on the side door, 90 area clear.
90, we're clear.
All cars be advised at Coleridge stated that Coleridge got shotgun pellets to his back. He refused EMS though.
Don't need none of that flare. Now you might as well let fire department know to stage a pumper as well.
That's clear, thank you.
At approximately 11:37 a.m., a St. Louis County police officer saw Mr. Hollins throw a portable incendiary device from the home. Given that one neighbor was shot and Mr. Hollins appeared to be actively attempting to ignite an adjacent residence on fire, officers began to evacuate the nearby homes. At approximately 11:40 a.m., several officers approached one of the adjacent homes to evacuate any residents and locate any victims. While officers approached and attempted to reach neighbors, another St. Louis County officer providing cover saw Mr. Hollins appear in the doorway. That officer observed Mr. Hollins holding the shotgun in a firing position in the direction of officers attempting to evacuate the adjacent home. That officer fired a single shot, striking Mr. Hollins in the chest, disabling him. Nearby officers approached Mr. Hollins to render medical aid. On their approach, the barrel of the shotgun was resting on the floor, still protruding from the doorway. Mr. Hollins died on scene. The following body-worn camera videos are of relevant footage directly related to the incident just described. Because of the officer's distance and tactical positions, there is no clear video of Mr. Hollins. You will see video and hear the audio from several St. Louis County police officers' body-worn cameras.
In 1890, be advised, they've both been advised to stay low and shelter in place.
But if you're able to recontact, advise them if they can evacuate the house and move to the east away from the suspect house.
That's clear, we'll call them back now.
It does appear he's lighting something inside the house now. I see flames. He's holding whatever it is in his hand. He threw it out the side door again at the resident's house. No active fire though went out.
Out the side door, no active fire. Standing at the side door.
Recording. Yeah, he's got it.
Shot fired, one down.
Shot fired, one down. Are they fired by the police?
Here's suspect down.
Clear. Is that for sure?
Okay, so finally, someone's done their damn job. This officer had observed. This officer's been there and has known that this guy has been shooting. He knows that people have been shot, or at least a person has been shot. And he's observed this person trying to set another house on fire with people in it. He got a sight picture, squeezed round off, shot the guy. Of course he's justified. But it should have happened a lot sooner than this. It should have never gotten to the point where this dude's lobbing fucking incendiary devices at a house with people in it. People who he's already shot. It's bullshit. He had a rifle. So let's talk about the guns. Officer had a rifle, and he was able to make a good, accurate shot. And he only needed one shot. This is why I always talk about rifles versus pistol, and rifles being better when you know you're going to a gunfight or going to something that has a higher chance of a gunfight evolving. If you know you're going to a gunfight, you bring a rifle, and you bring your friends with rifles. Rifle ammunition will outperform pistol ammunition every day of the week. The only reason why pistols are carried is a multitude of things. And so, number one, they're comfortable and convenient to carry for long periods of time. And they don't take up a whole lot of space. You can very comfortably carry a pistol on your side for up to 16 hours, 24 hours a day. And it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to be fatiguing. It's not going to be wearing you out. It's going to be convenient and comfortable. If you try to carry a rifle around for that same period of time, it's going to suck. Rifles are not convenient. They're not comfortable. After about a couple hours of wearing a rifle on a sling, you start to feel it. And it's not like rifles are super heavy. At least, like AR-15s, they're not super heavy. But after a while, that sling, and you move it around, that sling starts digging into your shoulder and neck area. It's not the most comfortable feeling. Doing your everyday tasks with this rifle slung on you is not convenient. It's not comfortable. Walking through interiors like a house or an office setting, going back to the station, walking around, the muzzle and the buttstock are going to be knocking in the shit, knocking things off tables, scraping up against the walls. You're walking down the hallway, banging up in the door frames. Trying to drive around in the car with it slung around your neck or right there up to your side, and always grabbing it and bringing it with you. It's not comfortable and convenient. Yeah, sure, you can do it. You can carry a rifle around all day. Soldiers do it. But it's not comfortable or convenient. Excuse me. Excuse me again. So the convenience and comfort issue, or avenue, that's a big factor. It's just more convenient and comfortable for someone to carry a pistol. And the pistol is still capable of causing incapacitating wounds to a person and stopping the threat. They still have, lethality. And when you look at the day in, day out job of a police officer, a lot of it is a lot of mundane work. A lot of bullshit. A lot of report writing. And police are not getting involved in gunfights every single day, multiple times a day. So the pistol feels that need. So because they're not getting involved in gunfights all the time, it's okay to carry a pistol all the time. Because the incidents that occur rapidly and suddenly are very far and few between. And a pistol, when it is drawn in response to a sudden and rapidly evolving intense situation, can be effective in defending the officer's life. But when you compare pistol cartridge to rifle cartridge, pistol sucks. It sucks ass. Rifle dominates. Rifle is a top performer. And so, when it comes to situations that have already evolved into deadly force type of scenarios, it is best to bring the rifle to those events. Because this is now no longer a surprise kind of thing. Like, oh, here I am, walking up this car to talk to this person, blah, blah, blah. Oh, shit, there's a gun. It's not, that's what the pistols are for. It's for sudden things to occur. Things like this, we already know some shit's occurring. This is when you bring the rifle. Because you know you're going to want the capabilities of that cartridge. And you want the rifle because you are able to be more accurate with it and be able to shoot from a longer distance and still be very accurate. That's where the pistol fails. Pistol's not very accurate. Now you can, of course, hit targets at a distance with a pistol. I've hit targets at 200 yards with a Glock 17. Steel plate. Little round steel gong. Boom. Ding. Boom. Ding. But that's under cool, calm conditions. And it also was not consistent every shot. Sometimes, you hear a boom and nothing else. But I was still able to, hit the gong enough times to where it wasn't like that was just a lucky shot. Like it was a ding, smack, smack, ding, ding, smack, ding, smack, 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 ding. But these situations are not cool, calm, and collective kind of situations. These are scenarios where the adrenaline is pumping hard. Your heartbeat is racing. It's not likely that I would be able to hit a 200-yard target with my pistol under the conditions that these guys are experiencing. Not very likely at all. But I could probably still do it with a rifle. Because the rifle is just a better performing weapon than a pistol could ever be. If that officer who fired had had a pistol and fired, there's a possibility that he might not even have hit the target. He could have missed and sent his round into the house behind him, or into his house near where he was standing. That's a real possibility. Or if he did hit him, it's possible that the pistol cartridge would not have had much of effect on him. It could have been a survivable wound, a non-incapacitating hit, a non-physically incapacitating hit. Because sometimes people they'll get a gunshot wound, and even though it doesn't do anything to them physically, they could still keep on fighting. It can cause people to become mentally incapacitated. So that's the possibility. If he had shot him with a pistol, the guy could have been like, oh shit, I got shot, I give up. I kind of doubt it, but it could have been plausible. But being physically incapacitating, I don't know, 50-50 chance right there. The guy could have took a round and then continued shooting, continued fighting. But that rifle cartridge, that rifle cartridge outperforms pistol. It just blows it out of the park. So it's a good thing that officer had his rifle out and was able to take that shot. These officers here who are approaching on foot, they have a shield. None of them appear to have a rifle out. They all have pistols. That's wrong to me. The guy with the shield, okay, yeah, it's going to be hard to maneuver with the shield and have a rifle out. It's going to be a little front heavy. It's going to be kind of hard to do that. And it is easier to be able to stick that pistol out in front of you and look through the viewfinder on the shield and fire that away. With the person behind him, definitely should have had a rifle. The officer whose camera we're viewing through definitely should have had a rifle. They are going into the hot zone. Everyone else is at a distance away. They are going closer and closer and closer. They need better weapons going that close.
Clear rear door.
Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at?
Inside or outside?
Come up here. See the shotgun sticking right out the door there?
Yeah.
The front door? Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Just hold it.
I'll keep an eye on it. Okay.
Hold all traffic.
1803, hold all traffic. Yeah. Pull the shotgun out of the door. 1803, I'm coming up.
1803 1804, you still want them to come out there? Left there, left there.
Here?
Let's watch that one again.
Door. Pull the shotgun out of the door. 1803, I'm coming up.
1803.
She holsters her gun and approaches the door. Shotgun right there. There she is, bent over at the door, grabbing the gun, and the only person able to provide any kind of cover to her is directly behind her, and their gun is at the low ready. This should not have happened at all. She has gone up there with no gun in hand and is at the doorway, at the fatal funnel, reaching in, grabbing this shotgun, and there is no one in a position to be able to provide accurate fire inside in the event this dude pops out around the corner and starts shooting at her. Blows my mind.
Here. 159 should be secure.
HO3, have EMS respond.
In total, 1 gunshot was fired by law enforcement. Mr. Hollins fired 2 gunshots while officers were present on scene. A shotgun attributed to Mr. Hollins was recovered on scene by officers. The weapon is described as a 20-gauge semi-automatic Remington sawed-off shotgun. The shotgun was located on the floor between the open door and the door frame near Mr. Hollins. Crime scene detectives located 6 fired shotgun shells, which were later forensically attributed to Mr. Hollins' shotgun located in the doorway. Further investigation revealed that Mr. Hollins' shotgun located.
So not only is he a felon in possession of a firearm, but he's now in possession of what I believe is a short-barreled shotgun, an NFA item. This is a federal offense. So, yeah, convicted felon in possession of a felony device, because he is not licensed. Even if he wasn't a felon, he would have to have the proper documentation and everything to be able to possess that, which he don't. If it's not an SBS, then it could be an AOW.
Located in the doorway. Further investigation revealed that Mr. Hollins attempted to create an explosion by placing numerous live shotgun shells in a microwave and turning it on.
Yeah, so so he put these shotgun shells in this microwave and turned it on. I don't know. I mean, there are some people who are stupid, and this guy's obviously one of them. Like, this dude's dumb. What was his intention here? Did he think that by putting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shotgun shells? Did he think that by putting 8 shotgun shells in this microwave was going to blow the house up? No idea what his intention with this was. If it was his desire to blow the house up, then this is a clear sign that this dude's not really smart. 8 shotgun shells in a microwave, and you think that's going to blow the place up? Come on, get real.
Although several of these shotgun shells exploded, the damage was minimal. The officer involved is 30 years old with 6 years law. The officer involved, several of these shotgun shells exploded.
And so, random thing. So some people think that, like, in house fires or whatever, that if someone's ammo is in the house fire and it starts going off, that the bullets are going to be like, firing like they are out of a gun or something. And that's not the case. Bullets have to, ammo has to be in a barrel, basically, to be able to contain the explosion and direct the projectile out. So these shotguns exploded, but the force was able to dissipate all around, right? It wasn't compressing the energy and directing it down a tube. So that's why this microwave is not blown to bits, so to speak. That's why the top of the thing is still there. If, he had put these in, pipes that would accommodate the tubes and put them in there, you'd see the very top of the microwave blown out, because it would have been, those pipes, those tubes would have been able to contain the energy and prevent it from dissipating all outwards and direct the energy in one direction. And you wouldn't have seen all these little pellets in here, if he could have done that. Setting these casings out here in the open, and then turning the microwave on, there's nothing, like I said, to contain the blast from these shells. And you can even see this shell right here. I think this is part of it as well. So this one just blew open, right? And it don't even look like this one has exploded any. Doesn't look like that one's exploded any. This one, you can tell it just kind of blew in half. And then the rest of these don't even appear to have gone off. But this one, it went off and it split down the middle. And this is where, we're seeing all these pellets. So even when it split down the middle, you don't see any holes within the microwave, because there's just not enough energy being exerted onto these things to be able to make them punch through the walls of this microwave. And I can guarantee you take a shotgun shell and you put it in a shotgun and you point the barrel at this wall right here, you're going to blow a hole through it. You're going to be able to direct the energy, the kinetic energy, in such a confined spot. It's going to blow a hole through that. But when you just set the shell off, it just fizzles out, so to speak. Yeah, it still blows up, still a little explosion, but the energy, directing the energy is not there. So I don't know, random little thing to talk about, but
the damage was minimal. The officer involved is 30 years old with 6 years law enforcement experience.
The St. Louis County Police Department has all its non-sensitive policies and procedures available on our website at www.stlouiscountypolice.com. Policies applicable to this incident and release of information are General Order 10-29, Use of Force. General Order 16-68, Public Information to interview any new witnesses.
All right, so they just talk about their policy stuff until the end of the video. Not much else to see, so I'll end that there. There's not really a whole lot else that could be talked about in this video. We didn't see any medical stuff being done. Normally I'll go into medical stuff, but I won't go into any medical stuff on this one because none of the officers were injured or anything like that. But if you watch my other videos, oftentimes you'll hear some of my thoughts on medical gear and the training with that medical gear and stuff. Not the biggest fan of how this went down. Like I said, I am as pro-police as they come. Very pro-police. But they dropped the ball on this one. When they first went there and this guy comes outside with a shotgun and flourishes it, and he's a convicted felon, they should not have left. They should have done police work, attempted to get him out of the house, and he refused to come out. Go from there. If you got to lob in some tear gas, so be it. If you still don't come out, you go in there and get him. The guy's a convicted, violent offender, a felon. He is a violent felony offender. And they left him there with that gun. And then had to come back because he started shooting at his neighbors. And was actively shooting. He became an active shooter. And they failed to go in and protect the public. They just sat around. Those are that doesn't just annoy me, that disturbs me. That should not have happened. And like I said, I'm very, very pro police. When people bitch and complain about the police, using too much force, I'm usually the one to say, that's not excessive. In fact, they probably could have used more force. But this right here was done wrong. And they're lucky that person who got shot didn't get a more serious injury and ended up dying. Like I said, it's bad enough that the courts screw stuff up and let people out early. But it's even worse when the police just flat out refuse to do anything. That is what makes communities unsafe. That is why some places are like third world countries. That's why some places have murder rates that are staggering. And here's another thing to think too. Murder rates. If we had 1950s level medical technology, the murder rates that we have right now would be higher. So it's not just the murder rates that you have to look at. It is the attempted murders and the aggravated assaults that you have to look at. The rate at which people are trying to kill each other. Those are damn high. The only reason why some people have not caught murder charges is because of a really good medic or a really good doctor. And that's it. The only thing keeping some people from being convicted of murder is there was a person who was very well trained in medicine and saved someone's life. And all that person ended up getting was maybe not even an attempted murder, maybe just an aggravated assault. Here in Kentucky, it's assault first. Lots of dudes out there with assault first when they try to kill someone. So our murder rates are high, and the rate that these people are trying to murder each other are very, very high. And a lot of that has to deal with the criminal justice system not doing their jobs correctly. And it's mostly the courts who screw it all up, letting people out early, giving little slaps on the wrist. And when I say this in my other videos, I usually follow it up by saying that the police do their job pretty good by catching the bad guys, and it's the courts who drop the ball and let them out. This attack on police that has been going on in this country, vilifying them and crucifying them, is making it worse. And I would not, of course, it's impossible to be able to say this is for sure why they acted the way they did on this one, but it's very plausible that the reason why they failed to take any action is because the rabid woke liberal left, and how whenever a police officer performs their duties correctly and do nothing illegal, they're still attacked. They're still ridiculed, criticized, vilified, and painted as a monster. And that could have been something that came into play on this They just didn't want to take that risk of having to get into a shooting and go through all that. And here's the other thing too, which I don't know about this particular area and they're prosecuting and everything, but there's other places where when officers do their job correctly, their own administration doesn't back them up or doesn't go to bat for them very strongly. And then the prosecuting attorneys screw it all up. Like the Mosby girl, Marilyn Mosby, the prosecutor in, I forgot where she's a prosecutor at, trying to hang officers out to dry. Another place, prosecutors trying to hang the officers out to dry for political reasons, when the officers did nothing wrong, did their jobs correctly. But yet because some woke liberal left prosecuting attorney wants to send a message, wants to further their political agenda, ends up railroading these officers who've done nothing wrong whatsoever. So that's a possibility too. The officer in it's just something in the news not too long ago. I want to say it was I can't remember where it was, but they get shot at by a 17-year-old and 12-year-old. They return fire and 12-year-old gets hit. Well, their police commissioner, very rabid liberal left kind of person, has said that they intend to fire that officer, terminate him for doing his job, for protecting himself when someone was trying to murder him. But yeah, they're trying to railroad that officer all in the name of being woke, liberal, hug a thug morons. So those are, like I said, I don't know the political climate in this area. I don't know if their prosecuting attorneys are out to get the police or just not very friendly with the police. And if their own admin, if there's problems in there where, they'll just hang them out to dry. They won't back them up very well. I don't know. I don't know that landscape. I don't know anything about that. But those are some potential things into play why these officers decided not to do anything. I feel like I'm probably just going to end up going into a deeper rant. Try to stay away from the politics, but it's so hard to sometimes because it does have a determining factor in certain things. But try to keep it to mindset, tactics, skills, and gear in these reviews. But sometimes that political stuff creeps in because it is pertinent. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.